Sì, e da questi due fuori tutto. Dai, facci due fuori tutto. Aspetta, lo mettiamo. Proprio qui. Apriamola.
Adesso appena andiamo.
Khi nói đến nước Ý, chúng ta sẽ nghĩ ngay đến một suối nguồn nghệ thuật. Thiết kế và kiến trúc của Ý lâu nay đã khẳng định một vị thế dẫn đầu, hoàn mỹ và trường tồn theo thời gian. Những nét tinh hoa đó lan tỏa rộng khắp thế giới và Việt Nam cũng không là ngoại lệ. Chúng ta có thể dễ dàng bắt gặp những vẻ đẹp Ý trong văn hóa, nghệ thuật và cuộc sống thường nhật. Đó là niềm đam mê cho tách cà phê, những vật dụng hàng ngày, sự chuẩn mực trong thời trang, sự phóng khoáng và tinh tế qua phương tiện di chuyển. Tinh thần Ý còn thể hiện qua những kiến trúc mang đường nét lịch lãm nhưng vẫn đậm tính khoa học và duy mỹ. Ngày thiết kế Italia 2020 mang chủ đề vẽ nên tương lai phát triển mới, đổi mới và bền vững và vẻ đẹp đang chờ đợi sự tham gia của những người yêu nghệ thuật, những nhà thiết kế và kiến trúc sư. Sự kiện sẽ khám phá ý tưởng xây dựng cảnh quan đô thị mang tính bền vững và bảo tồn bản sắc mang tính toàn cầu. Đại sứ của Ngày hội thiết kế Italia năm nay là kiến trúc sư Prof Casmonti, người đồng sáng lập công ty thiết kế đã đạt nhiều giải thưởng kiến trúc danh giá Archia Associati. Ông còn là cha đẻ của công trình Thế giới gốm sứ ở Lễ Lăng, Trung Quốc, hầm rượu Cantina Antennae Winery ở Ý, hay sân vận động Colorado ở Thụy Sĩ. Sự kiện năm nay sẽ bắt đầu với triển lãm của Vico Magistrati tại 4 trường đại học. Hội thảo chính của sự kiện sẽ diễn ra vào ngày 5 tháng 11 ở Hà Nội, Hồ Chí Minh, Tuy Hòa, cùng webinar từ Florence. Hãy đến với Ngày thiết kế Italia để khám phá những nét giao thoa trong văn hóa và nghệ thuật giữa Việt Nam và Ý. Khi nói đến nước Ý, chúng ta sẽ nghĩ ngay đến một suối nguồn nghệ thuật. Thiết kế và kiến trúc của Ý lâu nay đã khẳng định một vị thế dẫn đầu, hoàn mỹ và trường tồn theo thời gian. Những nét tinh hoa đó lan tỏa rộng khắp thế giới và Việt Nam cũng không là ngoại lệ. Chúng ta có thể dễ dàng bắt gặp những vẻ đẹp Ý trong văn hóa, nghệ thuật và cuộc sống thường nhật. Đó là niềm đam mê cho tách cà phê, những vật dụng hàng ngày, sự chuẩn mực trong thời trang, sự phóng khoáng và tinh tế qua phương tiện di chuyển. Tinh thần Ý còn thể hiện qua những kiến trúc mang đường nét lịch lãm nhưng vẫn đậm tính khoa học và duy mỹ. Ngày thiết kế Italia 2020 mang chủ đề Vẽ nên tương lai, phát triển, đổi mới, bền vững và vẻ đẹp, đang chờ đợi sự tham gia của những người yêu nghệ thuật, những nhà thiết kế và kiến trúc sư. Sự kiện sẽ khám phá ý tưởng xây dựng cảnh quan đô thị mang tính bền vững và bảo tồn bản sắc mang tính toàn cầu. Đại sứ của Ngày hội thiết kế Italia năm nay là kiến trúc sư Prof Casmonti, người đồng sáng lập công ty thiết kế đã đạt nhiều giải thưởng kiến trúc danh giá Archia Associati. Ông còn là cha đẻ của công trình Thế giới gốm sứ ở Lễ Lăng, Trung Quốc, hầm rượu Cantina Antinori ở Ý, hay sân vận động Conaredo ở Thụy Sĩ. Sự kiện năm nay sẽ bắt đầu với triển lãm của Vico Magistrati tại 4 trường đại học. Hội thảo chính của sự kiện sẽ diễn ra vào ngày 5 tháng 11 ở Hà Nội, Hồ Chí Minh, Tuy Hòa, cùng webinar từ Florence. Hãy đến với Ngày thiết kế Italia để khám phá những nét giao thoa trong văn hóa và nghệ thuật giữa Việt Nam và Ý. Khi nói đến nước Ý, chúng ta sẽ nghĩ ngay đến một suối nguồn nghệ thuật. Thiết kế và kiến trúc của Ý lâu nay đã khẳng định một vị thế dẫn đầu, hoàn mỹ và trường tồn theo thời gian. Những nét tinh hoa đó lan tỏa rộng khắp thế giới và Việt Nam cũng không là ngoại lệ. Chúng ta có thể dễ dàng bắt gặp những vẻ đẹp Ý trong văn hóa, nghệ thuật và cuộc sống thường nhật. Đó là niềm đam mê cho tách cà phê, những vật dụng hàng ngày, sự chuẩn mực trong thời trang, sự phóng khoáng và tinh tế qua phương tiện di chuyển. Tinh thần Ý còn thể hiện qua những kiến trúc mang đường nét lịch lãm nhưng vẫn đậm tính khoa học và duy mỹ. Ngày thiết kế Italia 2020 mang chủ đề Vẽ nên tương lai, phát triển, đổi mới, bền vững và vẻ đẹp, đang chờ đợi sự tham gia của những người yêu nghệ thuật, những nhà thiết kế và kiến trúc sư. Sự kiện sẽ khám phá ý tưởng xây dựng cảnh quan đô thị mang tính bền vững và bảo tồn bản sắc mang tính toàn cầu. Đại sứ của Ngày hội thiết kế Italia năm nay là kiến trúc sư Prof Casmonti, người đồng sáng lập công ty thiết kế đã đạt nhiều giải thưởng kiến trúc danh giá Archia Associati. Ông còn là cha đẻ của công trình Thế giới gốm sứ ở Lễ Lăng, Trung Quốc, hầm rượu Cantina Antinori ở Ý, hay sân vận động Conaredo ở Thụy Sĩ. Sự kiện năm nay sẽ bắt đầu với triển lãm của Vico Magistrati tại 4 trường đại học. Hội thảo chính của sự kiện sẽ diễn ra vào ngày 5 tháng 11 ở Hà Nội, Hồ Chí Minh, Tuy Hòa, cùng webinar từ Florence. Hãy đến với Ngày thiết kế Italia để khám phá những nét giao thoa trong văn hóa và nghệ thuật giữa Việt Nam và Ý.
Che bella Armana c'è Casamonti dietro. Che bella Armana c'ha il Casamonti dietro.
Alo. Dạ hội thảo để
Good afternoon. In order to prepare for the start, we'd like to remind all of you to turn off your mobile phone.
is about to start. Please turn off your mobile phone or put it in the silent mode. Thank you.
Hội thảo xin phép được bắt.
So, ladies and gentlemen, let's start our event. On behalf of the Embassy of Italy in Vietnam, we highly welcome all of the participants attending the Italian Design Day 2020 with the topic Drawing the Future, Development, Innovation, Sustainability and Beauty. And first of all, may I have the honor to introduce to you our guest speakers, Mr. Antonio Alessandro, the ambassadors of Italy in Vietnam. And the Italian design ambassador, architecture Prof Casmonti. And from the Central Region University of Construction Engineering, we have here the architecture Lê Đàm Ngọc Tú and Nguyễn Vũ Phương, the rector of the university, and architect Lê Quỳnh Chi from the National University of Civil Engineering, News, and architect Từ Phú Đức, the head of the design department from Hoa Sen University, and Ms. Rachel Chaha, lecturer from the design department of the RMIT, and architect Hoàng Thúc Hào, Vice President of the Vietnam Association of Architecture, Mr. Nguyễn Quốc Khánh, Chairman of Ho Chi Minh City Association of Wood and Arts. And today we are very honored to have here also the representative of the Ministry of Construction, Mr. Phạm Khánh Toàn, who is the General Director of the International Department, and Mr. Megan Croft, the UNESCO country representative in Vietnam. Ladies and gentlemen, our event today is an online event, and we have also the people participating online from Ho Chi Minh City, Tuy Hòa, and Florence in Italy. And we would like to thank Muse and Hanoi University and Da Nang Design University and Duy Tân University, Hoa Sen University, Ho Chi Minh City Architecture University, and Architecture and Văn Lang University, as well as Mr. Panorama, who is sitting at Văn Lang University and who is representing the Italian Commerce Chamber. And according to the agenda, we'll have 6 presentations. And may I remind all the students at different sites, if you have any question, you may forward your questions to your university representative so that we can collect your questions for the Q&A session. And now to declare the opening of the event, may I give the floor to Ambassador Alessandro Antonio.
Good afternoon, everybody, and good morning to our friends connected from Italy. Welcome to Italian. Us in streaming. This hybrid and multipolar arrangement gives us already a glimpse on what we are going to experience in the future, and about the theme of today's conference. We will discuss more of this with Prof Casmonti, the ambassador of Italian Design 2020 in Vietnam, and with leading Vietnamese experts from different parts of the country. This seminar is the highlight of the rich program of activities presented by the Italian Embassy and the Consulate General of Italy in Ho Chi Minh City in this final quarter of the year. We have just concluded the exhibition on Raffaello at the Museum of Hanoi and the Italian Language Week. Tomorrow we start a 3 days Study in Italy fair at Casa Italia, And our program will continue with cinema, cuisine, contemporary art, and more. And I invite you to follow our social channels and media to be updated. But today we are focusing on design. We celebrate the Italian Design Day every year in more than 100 cities in the world. Our objectives are spreading knowledge on the history and the evolution of Italian design, sharing visions, ideas, and suggestions on contemporary architecture and design, and seeking contaminations and exchanges in order to establish a partnership with international friends. Italian Design Day is a cultural celebration, but it is also a recognition of the important industry behind design. In Italy, this industry is made up of 29,000 enterprises and makes a large share of our GDP. Today's workshop is the main event of Italian Design Day in Vietnam, which also includes the exhibition 1920-2020 Vico Magistreti, supported by the Italian trade agency ICE, to celebrate the centenary from the birth of a great master of Italian design. There is also a participation in parallel to our seminar. There is a participation of several Italian experts in a workshop organized by VAS, the Vietnam Academy of Social Sciences, on the theme Smart City from Socioeconomic Perspective, the Practice of Europe and Vietnam. There will also be a collection, a showcase of a collection by of chairs, by some prominent Italian furniture brands later in the year. And finally, an exhibition of the works and projects of Marco Casmonti. We will tell you more in the following weeks. The theme of the Italian Design Day 2020 is Drawing the Future, Development, Innovation, Sustainability, Beauty. It was chosen by the organizing committee at the beginning of this year, and it is even more relevant today during the COVID-19 era, when we have to reimagine, rethink our world, and there is no better starting point than the minds of the visionary minds of architects, designers, and urban planners. This is true, in particular in Vietnam, that is experiencing a rapid and sustained growth with a booming real estate sector. This is also important for Hanoi, that has recently become part of the UNESCO network of creative cities under the design chapter. And this theme is also very valid for the whole ASEAN region, with which Italy is strengthening its relations on cultural heritage preservation and sustainable architecture. The ambassador of Italian design, Marco Casmonti, from Studio Arkea in Florence, and Vietnamese experts from Hanoi, Ho Chi Minh, and Da Nang, and Hue, and Phuyen, will explore the theme for an audience of Italian and Vietnamese students who are the designers of the future. The discussion will focus on how to combine beauty and sustainability and how to promote innovation and development through these two objectives. We will hear about design solutions for responding to natural hazards, architectural ideas on how to preserve traditional handicraft villages, suggestions from the sustainable architecture of the ethnic minorities, and insights on how to teach all this to the younger generations. So we have a rich program with many interesting presentations to follow. Let me thank, therefore, the panelists, Marco Casmonti from Studio Arkea in Florence, Professor Nguyen Vu Phuong, and Professor Le Dam Ngoc Tu from Mien Trung University of Civil Engineering, Professor Le Quyen Chi from National University of Civil Engineering, Professor Tu Phu Duc from Hoa Sen University, and Professor Rachel Jaya from the Royal Melbourne Institute of Technology. Many thanks also to the further universities following us online: University of Architecture of Ho Chi Minh City, Van Lang University, Duy Tan University, University of Architecture of Da Nang, University of Hue. Let me also thank our architect Hoang Tuc Hao, for Vice President of the Vietnam Association of Architects, who will moderate our Q&A at the end of the presentation, and Mr. Nguyen Co Can, Chairman of Handicraft and Wood Industry Association of Ho Chi Minh City, who will wrap up at the end of the program. Let me finally acknowledge the presence of the Director of International Relations of the Ministry of Construction for his presence, and the Director of UNESCO Vietnam, Mr. Michael Croft, and also acknowledge the sponsors of the Italian Embassy's program of cultural activities, Ariston, Bonfiglioli, CAE, De Masi Taddei Vasoli, Ghella, Carvico, and Piaggio. I wish you all a fruitful debate, and I thank you all very much for your attention.
Xin cảm ơn ngài đại.
Thank you very much, Your Excellency, Mr. Ambassador, for your opening remark. And now to start our agenda, we'll have the presentation by the Italian design ambassador, Marco Casmonti. The presentation has a very inspiring title, which is Tradition and Treasury.
Good morning, everybody. I hope that everybody can hear me. And first of all, it's my great pleasure to tell you thank you. Thank you for the invitation for the Italian ambassador, for the Association of Architects, and thank you for all the university teachers and students connected to us today. First of all, you know that I'm in Florence now. Everybody know why, but physically I'm in Florence, but my heart is in Vietnam in this moment. Vietnam is a country that I love a lot, and in the last 3 years, I spent a lot of time to Vietnam and for realize projects and realize part of my vision in terms of architecture and design. Now I want to share with you the screen and start my presentation, and I hope that everybody can see the screen. And yes. Okay, the presentation is a short discussion regarding 3 important keywords in my vision. Regarding tradition, in what way it's possible to transfer the knowledge from the past in contemporary vision. So tradition, translation, means to pass from the past to contemporary age. Tradition, translation, and tracery. Tracery, in what way we can take the knowledge from the past and transfer in the future vision. First of all, I want to tell everybody that to be an architect today means to work with a lot of other architects. Our art, our discipline is a special activities that is necessary to realize together other architects. To be an architect means not to be alone in the world. You can have your vision, you can have your philosophy, but it's extremely important to share your vision, your philosophy, your creativity with the other architect to transfer the vision in the building. It's not a work that's for one self-made man. I asked you to see these images. Is an installation that I realized for the Biennale of Venice exhibition. In 2003, I realized the entrance and the most important installation for the Biennale of Art in Venice. And these images represent the circle is like a binocle, is like a windows where you can see the past that is in the circle, the present that is a circle, and the future that is the young kids that play in this space. So past, present, and future is a part of our creativity. And each architect, each designer, each fashion designer, each person needs to combine the knowledge that comes from the past with the vision that we can transfer to the future. I was born in Florence. Florence, as you know, everybody knows, is the city where the Renaissance in the 15th century opened a new age, the age of humanism. And I believe that it's extremely important to understand the soul of Renaissance. This is the soul of my city and the soul of my vision, to connect it tradition and innovation, to share the past, the knowledge that comes from the past, and the vision for the future. So that's past. The same images that you see in the circle is Palazzo Ducale in Venezia. And Palazzo Ducale is a one example of fantastic tradition in architecture in Italy. And this is represent the present, our installation and a typical translation of tradition, the Arco di Trionfo, the Triumph Arch. And this is the tracery, what I change and what I take from the past and transfer to the future. And this is the entrance of the Biennale of Venice in 2003. Now, I try to explain better this concept and this vision in different fields. But this is the images that represent the past is in the back, is the tradition, traditional architecture, traditional design, in the installation that is like the court where the people play inside, is like a cable where the information cross inside, and there is the people and the kids that play inside, that represent the future life. Yes, why I want to tell you that to be an architect means to have a strong vision that's not regarding only architecture, regarding a lot of discipline, art, movie, fashion, and each activity is connected. According to me today, which is my idea to transfer to you the point of view for the Italian creativity, the point of view that developed in Italy in different age, in different century, especially from the 20th century after the Second War, when the Italian was a very poor country, completely destroyed by the war. The best important filmmaker like Luchino Visconti take the camera and try to represent the reality. And in a lot of fantastic movie, like this movie realized by Luchino Visconti, one of the best filmmakers in Italy after the Second War, he represents the poor country like Italy, the reality, what needs to be connected with the tradition of Italy. You see, this looks very well, these images. There is a table, there is a bottle of wine, and there is a glass of wine, and there is a farm and countryside. But these images don't represent only movie, only cinema, only reality. If you look at this fantastic artist, one of the best painters in Italy, Giorgio Morandi, that worked in the 20th century, this is one of his famous paintings. You can recognize that in the movie, the frames in the movie from Luchino Visconti, and these images that come from the fantastic painter Giorgio Morandi, there is exactly the same metaphysic atmosphere. There is reality, there is tradition, there is the innovation, there is everything. What means this? In the Italian vision, art, cinema, fashion, architecture is completely connected. And I want to another frames on the movie Ossessione by Luchino Visconti. It's extremely important that everybody looks this frame. There is a lady, there is a man, and there is in the back a fantastic historical building, part of our heritage. Is a Castello Estense in Ferrara, realized in the Renaissance. And after this frame, you can see the real building, Castello Estense in Ferrara. And you can understand that the tradition was translation in the movie, but in the same time in the art field. This is a famous painting realized by a famous painter. The name is Giorgio De Chirico. He's a metaphysic painter. And you can see that the same building that exists in the tradition of architecture, Castello Estense, is in the movie, is in the painter, is in the life of the Italian people, is in the vision of the Italian people. So this is extremely important, to transfer the tradition, to translate and to transfer in the vision of art, in movie, in cinema, and so on, and so on, and so on. And this is the future. And you can understand that the part of the Castello Estense is in the past architecture of Renaissance, is in the painting of the artist, is in the architecture of the BBPR. BBPR is one of the best office of architecture that realized one of the best important tower in Milano. The name of this building is the Torre Velasca, is a monument of architecture of 20th century. And what means this building? I don't discuss if this building is beautiful or not beautiful. It's important that this building understand exactly the soul, the knowledge of tradition, and transfer the vision from the past in the future, in the present, and after in the future. So this is another movie realized from another important, fantastic filmmaker. This filmmaker was Roberto Rossellini, one of the father of the cinema in the 20th century in Italy. And you can see in these images, this building, in the frames of the movie, you see this building. But where come from this building? Come from the tradition, from the Colosseum, from the classic architecture. You can see the arts and the collection of arts in this building. And you see that the building realized 2,000 years ago, realized another building in the 20th century in Rome, Palazzo della Civiltà Italiana, designed from Guerini La Padula in 1942, 1943, and is exactly the translation of the tradition of Colosseum. So you can understand that the movie, the design and architecture and art take the knowledge from the best tradition of the Italian architecture that comes from the past. And this is the translation of this concept in architecture. This is a fantastic building realized in Italy from one of the fathers of the modern architecture. This is the Brazilian fantastic architect Oscar Niemeyer. And it's easy to understand that the future comes from this vision, So there is a strong connection that realized an incredible red line that connected past, present, and future, tradition, translation, and tracery. That's the reason why the Italian creativity is so strong, so impressive, and why the Italian creativity comes from knowledge and take the energy from the knowledge that comes from the history and comes from the past. This is another frame of the same movie, Roma Città Aperta from Rossellini. You see this frame, and this is frame you see in the hand, St. Peter Cathedral. This is part of the frame of this movie, but the same you can see in the history. The dome of St. Peter comes from the history. This is the Pantheon, and where Michelangelo take the idea of the couple from the Dome of Florence, and the Dome of Florence relies from Brunelleschi, designed from Filippo Brunelleschi, one of the best architects from Renaissance. Take the knowledge from the Pantheon, relies during the Roman Empire time, and today you can see this is St. Peter. There is exactly the same feeling, and this is the translation of the tradition, and this is my architecture. I realized this building 1 month ago. It's just finished in Russia. It's possible that I realize a circle and the couple is the sky if I don't have the feeling of Michelangelo, if I don't have the knowledge of the Pantheon in Rome. No, there is exactly the same feeling, the same idea, the same knowledge. And this is not regarding only architecture. This is design. Everybody knows the design of the Vespa Piaggio. Vespa Piaggio is a piece of industrial design realized by Corradino d'Ascanio, one of the best famous engineering of industrial design in Italy. He worked for Piaggio industry. But I want to know that there is the same feeling that I just explained to you now. Look at these images. This is in a plane that relies from Piaggio Industries, and this is the Vespa. The Vespa is a piece of modern industrial design, realized 6 years later when the Second World War was finished. And where Corradino d'Ascanio take the idea of Vespa, take from the tradition of the plane industries. Piaggio realized plane before to realize the Vespa. And you can see the same elements, the same tradition. He transferred the knowledge from the plane, from the past, in the present, and in the future. This image is extremely important to understand that the design combines knowledge from the past, transfer the knowledge in the future, translate the tradition in the future, and transfer the technology and the vision if you want to look forward. And this is a special movie, Vacanze Romane. You know these famous actors like Gregory Peck and Katharine Hepburn. What means the best filmmaker represent the Vespa Piaggio that represents the future vision, the modern lifestyle. But the modern lifestyle comes from the past, from the tradition. So this is in between with arts, architecture, design, movie, why not fashion? I want to show these images, the dressing in the images down in the screen is the dressing designed by Dolce & Gabbana. And where this famous fashion, Italian fashion brand takes the patterns of the dressing from the tradition of the Sicilian ceramic. So where they take the energy, where the Dolce & Gabbana take the atmosphere from the tradition. and transfer and translate the tradition into contemporary vision in fashion design. This is the reason why the design, the fashion, the architecture in Italy is so strong, so creativity, and this creativity comes from this. And I translate the pattern of ceramic, Sicilian ceramic and the dressing in my architecture. This is in a small house that I realized in Italy. And if you see the wall, I realized in the wall a bas-relief. They take the patterns from the tradition that exists in ceramic, exists in the bas-relief in Italy. So just for explain this. Now, I want to go directly to my architecture and to explain that the tradition just is an element that comes only from art on architecture from the past. You can take the images of the tradition also from the art vision. But art, architecture is a part of knowledge that comes from the past. This is in a small library that I realized in Italy less than 10 years ago. Is an addition of traditional building realized from the early years of 20th century. I realized this red box covered by ceramic that is in a library. And the idea comes from one of the best artists in Europe. The name is Fernandez Armand. In the left part of the screen, you can see one of art pieces realized by Fernandez Armand. It's in a collection of a painter, and I realized, in the right part, I realized a collection of books for realize the facade of this new building. So the tradition, in this case, comes from the knowledge that I take from an piece of art. So what I want to tell you, that the creativity take the energy from the knowledge that you can have that comes from the cinema, that from the movie, from the arts, from the design, from food, from fashion, for the culture, for the identity culture of my country. And I realized this library that is a small building, but very, very famous in Italy, because it's in a library covered by books realized in terracotta. And what was possible to realize these books in terracotta? Because exists in Italy fantastic company that realized the best ceramic, the best piece in terracotta for the sector of architecture. And I involved this company to realize these books for this library because I want that the people that go inside the library can look outside between books. This means to realize the character of the architecture and to understand that an architecture is not only a building, give us the idea that a library is the house of books. So this is the character of the building. And this is another building. It's in a factory that produces candies. I realized a lot of building, but I chose this because this company, the name is Perfetti Von Melle, have a lot of factory in Vietnam, and they produce candies for east of the world, from Vietnam also. Have a lot of, and I realized for that this building is the factory, and I take the idea of the candles to collect these candies in glass for the facade from the collection of this painting, this artist that is similar in terms of philosophy of the images that I showed to you before, which is the vision. One column is nothing, but 100 columns realize the tempo. So to collect elements, column or canvas in that case, means to collect the same elements that transfer in architecture. So one column is nothing, 100 columns realize the tempo. One window is nothing, a collection of windows realize a facade of a building. So that's the vision. I realized this building less than 8 years ago, and I realized this building because the candles is the elements that they produce inside the factory. So also this building is not only a factory, it's not only a building. The facade represents the soul of this company and the images of this company. And during the day, when there is a sun, the glass looks transparent, but during the night, take the color of the candles that they produce inside the company. So, other building, this is in a small school. I need to realize in a school for disability people. I realized this school to Milano in north of Italy, and I need to realize a surface that have space inside. And I know very well that there is a strong tradition in Italy that comes from one of the famous painters, the name is Lucio Fontana, that lived in Italy in 20th century. Lucio Fontana was born in Argentina, but he lived in Italy for many, many years. And Lucio Fontana is the father of spatialism. And spatialism is a fantastic current art vision that realizes the space behind the fabric of the painter. And I take this tradition, I take this atmosphere to realize in the school that discovered the space behind the surface of the concrete. And when you are inside, you discover the capacity of the light. And this is the same atmosphere that you can see in the Pantheon. If you remember the images of the dome of Pantheon, when the light that comes from the sky, this is exactly the same atmosphere. The atmosphere of the tradition in architecture, the atmosphere of the spatialism that is an invention from Lucio Fontana. And in this building, there is a lot of information that comes from the past. Usually, the people that visit this building can't understand completely everything, but they understand that the creativity and the vision that comes from Italy take the energy from a lot of information that comes from the identity culture of my country. And that building relies on a small school, relies on a small sample that explains to us how much is important to be connected with the arts. Another history, this is in a residential luxury apartments that I realized in Lugano. Lugano is in Switzerland, close to Milano, is an Italian part of Switzerland. My client was an Italian client, and he asked me, he's an Italian collector of art, contemporary art, and he asked me, Marco, I want a special facade that looks like marble, but it's easy to clean it like glass, but also is represent something of special. And I take my idea from this piece of art. This is a painting very famous, realized by Alberto Burri, one of the father after the Second World of the poor art. The poor art is a fantastic movement that collects the poor piece of fabric, poor piece of steel from the street and transform in painting. They realize the vision that also the poor elements can become part of the art vision. And I take piece of fabric realized in brass, and I include and I close this fabric of brass stretched by the hand artisan and inside the glass. And when you see the facade reflects nature. It's easy to clean because it's glass, but it's like marble because there is a stretched brass fabric inside the glass. So this is part of my creativity, to design my material. So bricks is not a bricks, stone is not only a stone. Like the father of architecture in the past, you can design your material. You can work with your material. You can work with the light. You can work with a vision. And especially, you can work with the landscape and nature. And when you realize an architecture, you need to combine this, the vision of the nature and the landscape. That means to be sustainable, means also to realize the contemplation of the nature and to realize natural building with a natural material, with a poor material, and to realize the vision of that comes from the tradition. This is another building, very famous, is Antennae Winery, is in countryside in the middle of one of delicious and delicate countryside in Italy. Is in the middle of Tuscany, the central region of Italy, where the family Antennae produce one of the best wine in the world. And this is a factory. And this factory is a 60,000 square meter. And I realized this building completely underground. And I covered completely with this building with grapes and vineyards and land. And it's completely integrated in the nature. This means to be sustainable. Sustainability means also to realize a building like this. They don't need a lot of energy because the earth protects the roof, and there is no reason to spend money for air conditioning, heating, and cooling, and to spend a lot of money for energy, because the earth, in natural way, protects the building. So this building is sustainable, this building is connected to the nature, and this building takes energy, again, from the arts. This is a very famous painting realized by Lucio Fontana, the father of spatialists that I mentioned before. And when I have the commission to realize this building, immediately I think to cut the hill and to put everything inside, in the same way of the tradition of the spatialists of Lucio Fontana. So it's impossible for me to have the vision of the winery if I don't have the knowledge of the art of the 20th century in Italy. And it was impossible to understand and to have the creativity of this building if I don't have the vision of the capacity of the architecture to be completely involved in the nature, completely in the nature. I understand immediately that it was impossible to realize a normal building. But if you see the building, looks like the hill that you have in the right part of the screen. So this building is not a building, it's a piece of nature. And represent the tradition of this countryside. The tradition of this countryside is to have hill and vineyards, not to have a building. That's important, to take the element for the tradition. And all the building is inside the hill. All the building is underground. And like the Pantheon in Rome, take the light from the sky. And when you are down, when you can go underground by car, you can take these stairs and go in the vineyard that are on top of the building. So, and there is everything in these images. There is the Divina Commedia from Dante Alighieri. It's very difficult for me to explain this because in Vietnam, I don't know if you know the Divina Commedia and Dante Alighieri writers, but there is the images of they connected to paradise, connected to heaven, to the paradise. But I take the images from these stairs from the tradition of architecture. This is Vatican Stairs. In the museum of Vatican Museum, there is this fantastic, incredible spiral stairs. If I don't have this knowledge, it was impossible for me to transfer in the present the tradition of Italian architecture. So creativity is not an empty idea, it's not the white papers. Creativity comes from the knowledge, comes from the past. And for me, it was impossible to realize my stairs if I don't have the experience of these stairs. And the same, if I don't have experience of the Pantheon, I don't realize the circle in the roof for to have the experience that the light go inside the roof. And the same inside the building. And so it was impossible for me to design these underground maturation rooms. Is the winery, is the heart of the winery. And if you see in the hand the wall, where I take the idea of this ceramic frame from the tradition of the farm, from the past. The same pattern, the same ceramic patterns that you see in the old farm in Tuscany, you can see here. So what means? Creativity is the connection between past and future, is exactly the three keywords that I mentioned before: tradition, translation, and tracery. So to transfer the tradition in the present. This is the reason why this space is in terracotta, because the old winery in Tuscany was realized the vault in bricks. What have realized the vault in terracotta. This is the reason why I used this material. So this vision is in the same time absolutely traditional, absolutely contemporary. So this is absolutely a Renaissance vision. And the Renaissance vision was to connect tradition and innovation, to transfer the past and the future. So that's the vision. And the same vision is in this other building that I realized in China. This is the ceramic museum that I designed and realized in Liling. I want to show you that for realize the ceramic museum, I collect a lot of pieces of ceramic. And I realized in this way the maquette of the project. And exactly in this maquette, there is my experience of one of the best cities in the world, that is Venice. Which is the soul of Venice, is the density, is to realize building by building, very close to one by one, and there is a small street, the name of the small street is Calle. Calle is a small street where each building is completely attached to the other building. And I realized this collection of ceramic that come from the traditional it's easy also for also in Vietnam there is big tradition to painting fantastic vases in ceramic. So when I saw these images, immediately I had the idea in what way I can realize this small city of ceramics. This is a ceramic art museum, and this is the images of the building that you realize. And in this building, there is the tradition of ceramic, there is the traditional density from a city like Venice, there is the knowledge of the past transferred in the contemporary age that look forward, look the future. And when I realized this, immediately I feel that there is not any difference from these two buildings attached one by one and the building that exists in Venice. When you work in Venice and you can see that you don't see the sky because the roof covered your head. So that's what that means to be understand what means Italian creativity. So, and in the end, last but not least, one project for Vietnam. This is fortunately under construction, and my client is not a secret client, is my fantastic friends, and there is connected to us my big friends. Is a fantastic architect alum that's share with me the passion for tradition and the passion for the philosophy to connect it, tradition and innovation. And when my client asked me to realize a bridge in this bay, immediately I have an idea. To take the knowledge from the past. And so you can, I think that you know exactly this legend, this history. Nungru Lang knew, I think everybody knew this history. And this history is a one man that met a fantastic woman, and they have a love history. So, and I transfer the idea of this legend in my bridge. And this bridge is a bridge that not connects the two parts, but there is a Mr. Bridge and Mrs. Bridge. There is one man and one woman that arrive very close together and share love. That's the bridge. One man arrived one side and one woman arrived in the other side, and they have a point where they can share love. So that's the idea. Where I can take this idea? This is the Sistine Chapel. Sistine Chapel was designed by Michelangelo, and was incredible for me to understand that the legend from Vietnam, one man and one woman share love, and this is also an incredible fresco where Michelangelo designed and represents the transfer of love. And I realized this is exactly the same. There is no different with this painting, with these legends and these images. So the creativity means to share this incredible experience. And this is the bridge where one man and one woman arrive very close to each other, and they can kiss each other. They can share love. They can share experience. They can share the experience of the culture of the world. And Vietnam history that is clear and history of Italy are completely connected. This is what I want to tell you in the end. Thanks everybody for attention, and I hope that my speech is clear to represent what means Italian creativity, Italian philosophy, Italian vision, what means to connect tradition, to transfer to tradition, translate tradition in the present, and transfer the knowledge for to have an incredible vision for the future. Thanks a lot.
We would like to thank architect Marco Casmonti we have understood why architect Marco Casmonti have been selected as ambassador of Italian Design 2020. We can see a presentation with full of ideas and a lot of integration, and after this, I think that those who have opportunities to visit Italy should visit not only the UNESCO recognized relics, but also different sites and objects, both physical and non-physical. And now we will move to the next meaningful presentation from architect Nguyễn Vũ Phương, rector of MUCE, and architect Lê Đàm Ngọc Tú, with the presentation on coping with the natural calamities, particularly in the central region in Vietnam.
Good afternoon.
Xin kính chào các quý.
Dear Ambassador Antonio Alessandro, my colleagues Hoàng Thu Hào and Phạm Khánh Toàn in Hanoi Post, and good afternoon everybody follow the online seminar. Good morning my colleagues from Italy, architect Marco Casmonti. First of all, on behalf of my university, I very thank Embassy of Italy in Vietnam and Ambassador Antonio Alessandro about our cooperation for more than 1 year, and support us for very successful Italian exhibition in Tijuana. And today I would like to introduce to you about my topic, design for responding to the natural hazards and climate change in Western City, the Midland region of Vietnam. And outline, we have introduction a little bit about my university, problem identification, and some study in the last 3-4 years on sustainability and climate change adaptation. And at the end, we would like to thank for all the participants and call for cooperation between the Miền University and the other international and international relationship. Okay, a little bit about myself. I graduated architecture from University of Architecture Civil Engineering, Sofia, Bulgaria in 1994. And I took master degree 2 years in Polytechnic. And from 1995 to 2018, I worked for Hanoi Architecture University, and 7 years at the position of Dean of Faculty of Architecture. And from 2018, I removed to Miền Trung University with the position of rector. And the other, my colleagues, Lê Đàm Ngọc Tú, introduce to you. Okay, now we go to the topic. A little bit about my university. We are main campus in Tijuana, Phú Yên province. It is in the south region in Vietnam. It's far from 120 kilometers from Nha Trang city in the north. Nha Trang is one of the best destination of tourism in Vietnam. And we have also, we have the second campus in the same city, and the third campus from 2007 installed up in Da Nang city. It's bigger. Yes, okay. Next. Okay. My university established in 1976, and next year, 2021, we will establish. We have a ceremony for 45 years of establishment. From 2011, we become official university, and we are one of the 4 universities in belong to the Ministry of Construction, and we take responsibility to educate labor and civil engineering for reason of Central, South, and Highland of Vietnam. And our university, we have the 3 for the future, for the near future. One is to open the new field of education to promote for the local economy development. Besides the traditional field of civil architecture and street and road, we have more plan of education. The second one is we focus for the information technology, especially boom for construction. Develop more international cooperation, and to make the research and training. Yes. At the moment, from 1976 up to now, we stand for more than 30,000 students in different level of education in Korean. Yes, and we have some picture about Korean. Very nice place. I think that is one of the near future destination tourism in Vietnam, in the south part of Vietnam. We have more than 190 kilometers seashore and many heritage, cultural heritage. Okay, next. And how the coastal architecture planning be designed to respond to climate change. I show you some my Facebook post topic concerning about climate change and about this topic. Now we will show some recent research of my university. For example, I want to show you one of the ministry level project about review of urban general planning for city in the coastal central region of Vietnam, recommendation for responding to climate change and sea level rise in adopted urban general planning. And from this research, we have an overview about the urban general planning of 15 cities in the Midland region. Yeah. Now we have a scenario of climate change, and from that we have recommendation for responding to climate change. If somebody interested, we will share more detail about that. Next slide, I will show you some picture about the weather forecast. The storm coming enter the Midland region area, but also in Phu Yên. Yeah, you know, in earlier time they go come to the north part, but in the end of the year from 8 storm, we do 15 always come to the south, and Fujian is one of the very weather. Okay. In the corner of we have informed about my university to stop of training for today, but luckily the storm not enter. I think that this evening there will be storm coming. Okay. Yeah. And some picture about distribution of sea level rise to the end of 21st century, and about the temperature, the scenario, and the rainfall. And in some project, we make the survey for every area of Vietnam, and we had proposed some steps to integrate the model of response in urban general planning. Also, we just to show you the second research, answer ministry level about construction technology adapting to sea environment. We talk about technology, material, to fish for the sea coastal building sea. Yeah. Also, we have a water resource internally. Also, Ministry of Labor. Yeah. And now continue my colleague, Mr. Aledam Ngoktu, will show you more detail of some projects. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everybody. To Italian culture. So now I am a faculty in the Faculty of Architecture. I graduated from Ho Chi Minh City University Architecture in 2003, and also got a Master of Architecture in 2008, and got from University at Berkeley, New York, in 2009. And now I will talk about some of our studies and planning activities on sustainability and climate change adaptation. Because like our university is an area that is frequently attacked by coastal hazard and climate change. So basically, our main focus on sustainability. I will show you some of our faculty studies on sustainability and climate change adaptation, competition on safe housing and sustainable community that we attended, and the workshop on sustainable urban planning. And also, we are integrating the use of legal and sustainable wood into training curriculum under a project funded by Khoa and agriculture organization. And also, besides that, we also have some extra curricular activity for students to make our community beautiful, more beautiful. This is one of the study of my colleague, Mr. Trần Văn Hiến. He studied on sustainable spatial planning for fishery village in coastal north section of Vietnam. In this study, he proposed some spatial planning adapted to current marine economic development, and also the approaching structure and space of fishery village. along bay, lagoon, and estuary to prevent disaster and also challenge economics, society quality, so environmental protection. For example, he proposed the green buffer along the coast to protect the community, and also move backward the life of people and also economic activity inland. And another study is my recent study on climate, on adaptation to climate extreme and levelized in society of the developing country, where I making a survey on 27 also small and middle city in developing countries, and we discover that to be able to combat climate change and climate extreme, we need the city a combination of multiple measures, which the prominent combination will be the engineering, structural, and technical measure and ecosystem-based measure, and also some other research options. Accommodation and protection is not enough, like land use control and regulation and investment and relocation. For example, you can see province like a sea embankment along the beach. The beach is recovered, rehabilitation. This is the beach. It's going inland only 30 meters on March of and now after the embankment is rehabilitation. And also another project, some other project in the province to apply the component of climate adaptation to protect the estuary areas by the dike, and also relocate the hazard-prone communities and establish a coastal park and pedestrian path to protect the soil. Additional, we also integrate sustainability and climate change into educational and training curriculum. In which we train and encourage our students to attend the competition on state houses and sustainable community programs organized by the Ministry of Agriculture and Rural Development and Ministry of Construction. And we won the first and second prize of the student group, and also the consolidated prize of the professional group. And we also organize workshops on community-based planning for climate resilience, co-organized by our university, Ho Chi Minh University of Technology, and also Southern Institute of Construction Planning. This is our first prize winning project, where our students propose a Monte benefits connecting house for disaster resilience. And now we are in the process of implementation, of making the design in detail, and will implement in Phuket province. Another activity in education is the workshop and planning studio, planning for climate resilience. We ask students to do the survey and also plan a better plan, a sustainable plan for community in 3 locations: the Fishery community in Guasis, Ngọc Lãng village in Phun Ngọc Mons, and Rơ village in Phu Long Khoa.
Okay, I continue. A few words about the new future. We have approved for some major study related to this topic. I want to introduce the delegate. The first one, rural planning and architecture solution for building a new countryside responding to natural disaster and climate change in the central province in the period 2021 to 2025. That's the research is state level. And the very interesting topic that characteristic and value of the heritage of Dong Cam Dam and water irrigation channel in Huen province, irrigation system. That is province level research. And in my experience, 2-year study in Italy and take the thesis about conservation in master degree and doctor degree, and myself participation in some project of heritage conservation in Hanoi and some province. And I think that the Dong Cam Dam and irrigation system with nearly 100 history. Yeah, I think that can call for heritage nomination. And I would like to have the cooperation from scientists, university, international association with outstanding value, historical value, social value, scientific value, architectural value, using and promotion value. And particularly in this era, when we can, with the sustainable development in case of rural development in Vietnam and security, water security and climate change. I think it is the one of that system can be called for heritage. Okay, I hope that to have the expert from Italy with the support from ambassador. And is my colleagues here in the room from my friend. I think that can be developed for 2021. And another field of cooperation of my university about construction project management using BIM, system development, smart city, smart home. For coastal city in Vietnam. Thank you very much. Thank you for attention. Once again, thank you, Ambassador Antonio Alessandro, support us to participation in very interesting and very nice seminar online. Thank you very much.
Xin cảm ơn Đại học Xây dựng miền Trung. Xin cảm ơn.
Thank you very much, MUC. Thank you, Architect Nguyễn Vũ Phương, Architect Lê Đàm Ngọc Tú. And now we would move from the central region to the Red River Delta with a presentation from Architect Lê Quỳnh Chi, the Deputy Head of the Planning Department from NUCE. And while we are waiting for Architect Lê Quỳnh Chi presentation to be shown on the screen, I would like to add a point that climate change and adaptation to natural disasters is among the topics, the focuses in the agenda of the Italian Embassy. And I would like to invite for the presentation from Architect Lê Quỳnh Chi. Have we got connected with the NUCE? May I also note and remind the other speakers that you will have 10 minutes or 15 minutes maximum for the presentation, because we'd like to reserve the time for Q&A. Yes, thank you very much. And may I check if Casa Italia, can you hear me? Yes. Yes, we could hear you. Okay. Yeah, we can hear you well. You can start your presentation now. Thank you very much, Ms. Han. Your Excellency, Ambassador Antonio Alexandro, and dear colleagues and dear friends, dear the other guest speakers, I'm very glad to be on behalf of our University of Civil Engineering to have a presentation in the Italian Design Day 2020 with the topic Drawing the Future Development, Innovation, Sustainability and Beauty. And my presentation is about the creativity development for traditional villages in the Red River Delta of Vietnam. And you might have heard about the Red River Delta, which is very rich in cultural traditions, but also facing a lot of challenges for the economic development. But we think that the challenges go along with the opportunities, especially we are now living in the globalization context. And our presentation is actually a kind of the summary of our projects and program conducted in our University of Civil Engineering about the traditional villages and their opportunities to develop in the current context. That study was conducted in 11 provinces in the Red River Delta and covered 45 villages. So the presentation will go around the two main topics. First of all, I would like to clarify the cultural values in the landscape, the traditional landscape arrangements of the Red River Delta villages, and those cultural values must be considered as a potential for the economic development. And the second topic of my presentation will be on how the traditional villages in the Red River Delta can use the opportunities now in order to further grow and develop. So I will be talking in particular about Phu Cự village in Hanoi and Phu Lãng, a ceramic village in Bắc Ninh province, with some suggestions and ideas for them to use their traditional and cultural values in order to develop their economy. So first of all, let me talk about the cultural values and the traditional landscape arrangements of those villages. And I would like to quote what His Excellency Mr. Ambassador Antonio Alexandro already said in the press conference on Monday. That is, there's a want behind everything. So of course, we see that behind the wall of every village, you will see many things here, including many cultural values and many traditions. So I will also try to show you the connections between the landscape and the cultural values, and also maybe some kind of interactions with the Western culture. So first of all, you can see here the two spatial layers. First of all, that is the spatial layer of the spatial layers of the whole Red River Delta, and then the spatial layers of the so-called the sub-cultural regions. So for the whole Red River Delta, we have the rice cultivation tradition. And maybe because of that practice, we have quite a tight structure in the landscape and in the construction structures in our Red River Delta villages. It's quite different from the villages in the Western world. And it's also different from the villages in the central region or in the south of Vietnam. So in the north, I mean in the Red River Delta area, because the people have to support each other in order to do the farming and rice cultivation. So the sense of community is very strong here in the Red River Delta area. They would have a lot of people doing the farming works, and that's why they would need the collective strengths. So it's quite different from what is very highly appreciated in the Western world, which is the individual value. In the Red River Delta, however, the collective value is much more respected. And even in the public spaces in the village, for example, the pond, the temple, the pagoda, they are also constructed in the way that many people can gather there at the same time. And in the traditional house of every family here in the Red River Delta, you can see the altar where they worship their ancestors. And also in, let's say, the wedding ceremonies, it's a kind of the procedure to connect the two families or the bigger families, the whole tribes, if we can use that word. And it's not only the connection of the two individuals. And also for the rice cultivation, the farmers will have to settle in one location, and they cannot move around a lot. So it's very different from the Western people who would love traveling and who would love moving from one to another place, even for livelihood. But for the farmers here in the Red River Delta of Vietnam, they would usually to stay in one place for the whole life. And that's why they are very much attached to their land and to their farmland. And usually in one family, they would have the model of constructing the house next to the garden, and then next to the fish pond, and next to the animal barn or animal shed. And in one village, they would have a head or a leader who would connect all the families and maintain the good relationship. And then we've been impacted to some extent by the Chinese culture. However, our traditional value and culture in Vietnam still very much respecting the role of women. You can see it through the mother goddess religion in Vietnam. Because we have many mother goddesses who are worshipped in the Red River Delta of Vietnam. And also, if you can look at this picture on the screen, the way that the members of family would sit together during a meal, you can also see the very important role of women here in the Red River Delta. And that's the long tradition. And another cultural feature here, that is the harmony with the nature. It's different from the way the Western people want to conquer the nature. But in the Red River Delta of Vietnam, people want to live in harmony with the nature. So they would choose the location where there are many water streams in order to settle and then to do farming. And they of course would want to live on the quite high mountains, I mean on the hills or on the higher elevated land slot. And so if you can make a comparison with Nha Sa, a village in Hà Nam, which is in the lowland, then in Hanoi, and they usually the houses would be constructed on a higher elevated land areas, but not on the lowland. And then the people in the Red River Delta areas of Vietnam are very flexible, and they can adapt very quickly and easily to any changes from the environment or from the outside world. And you can see those two characteristics are from the layout of the Nôm village in Hưng Yên province. So this is the water surface in the center of the village, and all of the temples and also the religious houses of the families are located around that water surface. But here, the Hành Thiện village, they have the configuration of a fish, and the families are located in the parallel line. And then for the residents in the Red River Delta area, you can see their cultural values and traditions from the structures of the ancient houses. And when we conducted our study, we found a very large number of the ancient houses, and many of them were made from wood. And during the French colony time, there were also the houses which were made under the influence of the Western architecture or Western design ideas. So many ancient houses have been reformed or modified. And now let's talk about the cultural sub-regions. So before, in the Red River Delta, you can see here, this is Thăng Long, the capital city. It's in the center, in the very center point of the Red River Delta, and there are 4 cultural sub-regions around the Thăng Long capital city, and you can see the different colors for those 4 cultural sub-regions. First, the Doi region, or we call it the Western region, because it's in the west of the Thăng Long capital city. And this Western region is very much well known for the wood carving profession, which was developed in the let's say 14th century. And this green color, that's the northern region. It's in the north of the Thăng Long capital city, and this is the very much ideal landscape in order to build up the temples, because usually temples and pagoda would be located on the high hill and mountains. And even now you can see that the combination between the temples or pagoda and the natural mountain landscape is a very much unique ecological feature of this area. And here you can also find many handicraft villages where people would do carpentry or masonry or pottery or bronze casting or even iron forging. And then on this side, that is the eastern region. Before it was called Hải Đông, but now it's the Hải Dương province and Hải Phòng city, the port city. And it's very famous with the hundreds of temples about the legendary Đông Hải great king. And this area, this region has is also the area where many let's say masters of technology were born and grew up. And then this is the southern region, or Sơn Nam in the ancient Wood, but now it's the Hà Nam province, Hưng Yên province, Nam Định and Thái Bình provinces. So 4 provinces now in this region. And for this southern region of the Thăng Long capital city, they are famous for fishing industry, because usually their houses would be located on the foot of the mountains, very much close to the river and in the lowland areas. And in this southern region, they are also famous or well known for the Trừ Đồng Tử and Mother Goddess Liễu Hạnh, who are the 2 saints in our traditional folk beliefs. And because of the time limit, I'd like to move on to the next part, which is about the handicraft cultural values from the Red River Delta. Sorry, I find some sound problem. Okay, so let me try to continue. So here we can talk about,
and particularly would like to talk about the value in the contemporary life. We are sorry for the sound system. Some microphone is still on. So, Ms. Chi, could you please keep going? However, we are 5 minutes behind the schedule. Would you please try to finish your presentation sooner than expected? And here you can see some images.
Do đó thì
here I'd like to go through this part quickly. In rural areas, there are difficulties. First, because of their low income. That's the reason why they tend to migrate. And most of the people who stay in the village are the old and the children. For example, in Quất Động village, every day they can earn only 30 to 50,000 VMD if they just focused on their traditional craft. And despite different programs, we can see that in many villages, only 1 or 2 households still maintain their traditional job. And we do have some tourism activity, but not enough for them to sustain such a traditional job with the tourism development approach. We think that we need to have a traditional cultural context, and also the traditional product can integrate more contemporary and modern values, and also that site should be close to the tourist center or tourist site or urban area. Only when the 3 elements are there, there could be good opportunities for traditional village to develop. But not all the sites are close to the urban areas to facilitate traveling. That is the reason why we have decided to develop a map for the northern Red River Delta to identify which village is in a good position for tourism development, particularly in adopting the community center approach and to facilitate the tourism development. And here you can see some models for tourism planning for the village levels. And in my presentation, may I go through this part very quickly? It is our proposal to establish a tourism center or the country promotion center for the village to be included in the planning. Thus, these centers can contribute to the tourism development orientation or plans in the future. And we have worked with the Cute Village in Phú Duyên. This village is about 39 kilometers from Hanoi, and it is quite well located because it is close to the highway from Hanoi to Ninh Bình. So those who wish to travel from Hanoi to Ninh Bình can call out this village. In this village, the number of ancient style houses is a big in number with great diversity. And Cute Village used to be famous for garment with a lot of tailors. However, this traditional job has been fading away. And here we went out with an Italian friend for the survey in this good village. Out of the 4 in this village, many houses have been deserted. So we have decided to restore Huỳnh Thúc Xá house to become a typical house in the village. The next one is a Phù Lãng village. It is 60 kilometers from Hanoi, on the way from Hanoi to Hạ Long. The traditional craft in this village is pottery. Well, they are special in using a kind of kiln. It is firewood as a key fuel, and they have a very special plating for their pottery products. But you can see that their products are still primitive with a low price. Therefore, their life is still difficult. That is the reason why we have proposed to the leaders of the village to establish a cultural introduction or promotion center. Due to the time constraint, I have tried to go through this presentation very quickly, and I'm more than willing to answer your comments or questions during the Q&A. And I do hope that after this seminar, the concept of developing a cultural promotion center to promote the village and the preservation of relics can receive more attention, and we can strengthen our connection for this purpose. Once again, we would like to thank Italian Embassy for the Italian Design Day 2020, the 4th edition, so that we can have a good space to share with each other our ideas. Thank you. We'd like to thank architect Lê Quỳnh Chi from National University of Civil Engineering. We still have 2 more presentations to go from the south, from Ho Chi Minh City. And while we are waiting for the connection with the Hoa Sen University, once again, we'd like to take this opportunity to thank the consular in the Ho Chi Minh City, Consular Dante Brande from Ho Chi Minh City site, who are also joining us in this Italian Design Day. He has been playing very important role in order to get the Ho Chi Minh City site connected with us and to get prepared for today's seminar. And now I'd like to invite the presentation from Hoa Sen University. Yes, we have with us architect Phú Đức. And I do hope that the presenter from universities can stay focused on the technical side. I am from Uni Italia, so I wish to listen from university. However, we do have time constraints, so I do hope that the speakers to stay focused on the design aspects. Have you been able to get connected with architect Phú Đức?
xin
We can see the site from Hoa Sen University. Yes, we can see architect Từ Phú Đức. Over to Mr. Từ Phú Đức. Would you please unmute your microphone? There might be some technical problem, therefore we can't hear any sound from Hoa Sen University. The technician, would you please give us some suggestions? Should we wait for Hoa Sen University or should we move on to the next site? Would you please, I have a quick reminder to the students, get ready for your questions. We are going to have the Q&A session soon with architect Hoàng Thu Khảo. And also we will have a concluding remark by Mr. Nguyễn Quốc Khanh, the chair of the Art and Wood Processing Association. And also, we are very impressed with the presentation by Dr. Nguyễn Quỳnh Chi on the craft villages.
Chúng ta có muốn thử chuyển sang bài của
So should we move on to the presentation by RMIT?
Và tất cả những đầu cầu sắp tới của chúng ta lại đến.
The problem is all our next sites are in Ho Chi Minh City, Hoa Sen University, MIT, Mr. Nguyễn Quốc Khanh, they are all in Ho Chi Minh City. Another option is we can conduct the Q&A on the first two presentations while we are waiting for the next slides. Is it okay for us technically?
Xin hỏi ban tổ chức là đã có câu hỏi nào đến trễ lúc nãy có nói với các bạn là dạ vâng. Thế chúng ta sẽ xin phép là chuyển sang thảo luận phần các câu hỏi ạ.
We can move on with the Q&A now. And now I would like to give the floor to architect Phạm Quốc Hào to moderate the Q&A session. And Mr. Marco Monte, we have had a question for you. Mr. Marco Casmonti, are you there? Mr. Marco? So, have we got any other question?
Mình đang chia sẻ hai máy.
Vâng, thưa Mr. Marco Casmonti, we have a question for you.
Hello, I'm Casmonti. I have a question for you. Duy trì truyền thống lập.
The question is, it's good to maintain the tradition, but it seems that the young generations now do not really respect the old traditions. What would be your advice, especially for the young students from the schools of arts or design and architecture, so that they can respect the old traditions?
Is important, and the question is important because it's important to understand that the tradition doesn't mean to copy the past, but just only to have the knowledge of the past. So we need to explain to the young students that to follow the tradition don't mean copy the tradition or repeat the tradition. Means only to have the knowledge of the past, to take the knowledge and the information that come from the past and transfer that for the future. Our vision is a future. We work for the future. We want to have, everybody want to create the new lifestyle for future. But without knowledge, without what we can learn from the past, we don't have a history, we don't have identity culture, and without history, we are nothing. Without history, we don't have in our end nothing. So I want that each person is proud to be Vietnamese, I'm proud to be Italian, another person can be proud to be American, and each one have a special tradition, special knowledge, and we need to love our country. That means repeat or copy the tradition. When I talk about translation, means that we have tradition, we translate the tradition to the present, and we have trace it. We can transform the tradition in something of absolutely news. But in what way it's possible to be news if you don't know if your idea is just done in the past? If you want to realize something of news, you need to compare the new idea with the past. Because it can be that if you don't have this idea, you think that your idea is new, but it's not true. So you can understand that your idea is completely new only if you compare your idea with the past. So the question is extremely important. And the young generation need to understand that the creativity is a sort of dream. But the question is, it's possible during the night to have a dream of something completely new? No, when you sleep and you have a dream, your dream remember some different aspect of your life. But without knowledge, without life, without experience, it's impossible to have a dream. The future without past is only a white paper. So we need to transfer this concept to the young generation. Respect tradition means respect your father, respect your country, respect your culture, and transfer this in a new lifestyle. So to be Renaissance, what means Renaissance? I just explained before, connected tradition and innovation together. Tradition alone is only nostalgia. Tradition alone not working. But also, the future for future don't have any vision, because the vision comes from the experience. Respect your country. So this is absolutely important to understand for the young generation. Don't forget culture. Don't forget your identity culture. Don't forget where are you from. This is extremely important.
Vâng, bạn Đại học Hoa Sen đã nghe.
Yes, thank you so much. And the student from Hoa Sen University, are you satisfied with the answer? And I remember a very famous architect from Japan, Kenzo Tang. He said that we can break the tradition, of course, break in the bracket, to break the tradition and to rearrange the pieces of tradition and to make it more conform to our modern life. So that's also the message from Mr. Marco Casmonti. And now many questions from RMIT students, also from Mr. Marco Casmonti. So I will read it out in English.
Come up with the concept of the design. To be specific, your inspiration based on any aspect such as function, purpose of the project.
We cannot.
I hope that they can understand, but if you can repeat this better. Can you repeat the question, please?
How do you usually come up with the concept of the design? Well, to be specific, your inspiration based on any aspect such as function, purpose of the project.
Okay, I try to answer, and you tell me later if I answer it in good way. But in any case, the inspiration is what means inspiration. What means to be creative, to have creativity? Means that we need to tell to the other people our philosophy, our vision, to share our vision. So it can be that we take the inspiration from art, we take inspiration from movie, we take inspiration from the past of architecture, but in any case, we need to transfer the translation of our experience. Each project is an answer to a specific argument and issue. So each time, first of all, when I realize one architecture, immediately I walk on sites. I try to understand the wind, I try to understand where there is the sun, I try to understand where is north, south, and I try to understand the atmosphere. After that, all the inspiration comes from my experience, my culture, and the experience on site. And each project is an answer, is a history. For me, there is no difference between a writer or an architect or a filmmaker. Each artist writes a history. My way of writing is to do drawing. For a musician, is to realize music. For an artist, to painting. But in the end, the creativity, the vision is an intellectual activity. So it's don't have any relationship in what way you explain you explain your idea. You can use music, you can use paper, you can use drawing, you can use marble if you are a sculptor. But what is important? To have something to tell to the other people. Art is the art of connecting people, communication with the other people, your idea, your vision. That's the meaning of art. And architecture is absolutely an art, the art of our lifestyle.
Xin cảm ơn kiến trúc sư Casmonti.
Thank you very much, Mr. Marco. Very good feedback. That is, the artist can make the history. So now let's come back to the questions. Oh, I think that now we have got connections with the guest speakers. So we'd like to invite the next presentation. Thank you, Mr. Marco, for your answers. But then we will have other Q&A session. And now we can move on to the presentation from the RMIT by Ms. Rachel Raha.
Okay, let's try again. Are you ready? Can you hear me?
Yes. Yes.
Okay, wonderful. Let's do this. Oops, we've got the Vietnamese. Can we, 1 second, we need to change to the English. Matthew? Technical issues. Okay, now do you. Somehow again. Yeah.
Can you ask him again to say?
Okay. Can you see the presentation? Because I can't see you on the screen.
Chúng tôi đang nhìn rất rõ cả bài trình bày và diễn giả.
We can see quite clearly the presentation and also the presenter. So would you please start?
Of course I can start. Okay, well, fantastic. So firstly, what I'd like to say is a big thank you to the Italian consulate for inviting RMIT to be part of this wonderful occasion of Italian Design Day. I'd also like to say thank you. We're very lucky to have Michele Decola here from the Italian consulate. So it's a great opportunity to be able to share this experience together. Also, big thank you to the other academics that have presented beforehand, and especially a really big thank you to you, Prof Marco Casmonti, because that was a really fantastic lecture, and our students here really got a lot out of it. So thank you very much for sharing your ideas and your work. Okay, so we're going to start with my 10 to 15 minutes of starting by saying that obviously my name is Rachel Yakia. I'm a designer and educator here at RMIT in the School of Communication and Design. We have some technical issues that our... What's wrong?
We didn't share them. The screen.
Oh. Okay, can you see? Sorry about this. I didn't realize that you couldn't see. Can you see the screen?
Yes, now we can see the screen.
Okay, so, okay, I'll start. Obviously, you can hear me, so I'll just continue. Okay, so obviously today, what we're looking at today, obviously we're faced with global issues such as, COVID-19 that undoubtedly has an impact on how we're starting to think about keywords such as innovation, development, sustainability, and future design thinking. But one of the things that we're doing at RMIT, as are lots of other design schools across the world, is we're bringing some of these contemporary issues, such as COVID-19, into our design studio spaces. And we're allowing students to explore through spatial design what could be some proposals that start to address some of the issues that are associated. Now, what we're doing specifically is redesigning a classroom of the future. And it's really significant. And what I'm doing today is presenting ideas, but based off an educator's perspective about not just why it is that we do these things, as fundamentally it is my belief that as educators we are responsible for helping to educate the designers of tomorrow. And to prepare those future designers for not just challenges that they face, but also opportunities as well. And so one of the key things that we start to look at when we think about, oops, where am I going? I have to use my mouse the other way, is that in looking at this responsibility of how it is that we can start to inspire and educate students, it's not just about looking at design through the lens of designing as a problem solver. Because let's face it, everyone's seen the nice spatial interventions of putting plastic screens up around in response to COVID-19, and that's not really addressing the beauty or the poetic or the craft or the art of what it actually means to be a spatial designer and what it means to connect people to that relationship between person and place and give meaningful experiences. So one of the things that we're starting to do, and particularly through looking at it at this lens of allowing students to be innovative, is not being innovative for the sake of being innovative, because what does that really result in? Where is that? It's a total disconnect between the past and the present, and it's just trying to look at the future through a very narrow focused lens. So, and anyone that's tried to teach students sustainable design principles would soon realize also that you can teach a whole cohort of students about how it is to be sustainable, but you're not guaranteed to create a whole cohort of students that are sustainable designers. So it's disconnect between education and practice, but we need to, it's something that alerts us to, it's something we need to do more of. So innovation for the sake of innovation is not really giving you much meaning and breadth. So instead, what it is that we're starting to look at and what it is that I want to introduce you to, sorry, my mouse is not working properly, is to say, designing in a way for the future that is only for the future does not necessarily equate to good nor beautiful design. But there are things in which we can do to help students to be able to understand this beautiful relationship and this intimate relationship that they have as spatial designers between spaces that they can start to create and to manifest that connects a deeper understanding and more intimate connections. So one of the things that is and as educators, I believe that we can be better at this. It's not about, it's understanding the art and the poetics of what it actually means to not just inhabit space, but also to design space. And it's centering on, these foundations of questioning what is this relationship, this wonderful relationship that we have with space, and how can we draw on that to be innovative and to be future thinking and to be connected in the things that we do. So some of the things that I'm going to be introducing you today is thinking about some of the key ways and opportunities in which we can start to allow students to be able to explore their own sense of self through spatial habitation, in order to be able to design poetically, to think poetically, to see poetically, to be able to draw out insights that are deeper than just surface insights or surface assumptions of what that means to be spatial designers and designing space. So to really start to critically analyze and investigate through almost a philosophical lens the wonderful ways in which we start to connect with the spaces in which we're designing. So that's what this is going to be looking at in this next few slides. So, and it's really about trying to say that, you know, you can't really project spatial possibilities without a deep understanding of the present, of what it means to be in the here and now. And to understand the present, we need to understand those multiple dimensions of self and self-understanding and ways in which we connect and engage. And to understand the present, you can't really understand the present without understanding the past. So there is this relationship between all three that need to be somehow connected and explored and interrogated, and all of the wonderful things that we do in terms of designing space. So in saying that, it's looking at that. So what I'm going to present in the next couple of slides is I'm going to be looking at some key ways in which this idea about this relationship between self and space and other, and space and place, and space and past, and space and future can start to be explored through education, through that role of giving students ample opportunities to be able to understand self, the various dimensions of self and how that manifests through space in order to think about how they might connect with other people. So in saying that, for example, one of the things that we start to do, and this is actually quite interesting because it's touching on what Prof Casmonti was talking about earlier, was where you draw inspiration from. And so one of the things that we seem to notice is that when you're trying to engage with students, a lot of the time you hear, oh, I like this, or I don't like that. But what is that deeper understanding of spaces from the past in which people like and don't like? You know, so what we try to do is we try to give opportunities using elements and principles of design to start to choose spatial precedents based on different typologies, to start to analyze and critically reflect on a deeper level of what does it mean to like a space, to feel good in a space? How does that start to speak to me through deconstructing the various elements and principles of that space? The objective of these sorts of exercises is to take beyond the notion of like, dislike, and start to ask the questions, why is it significant? What is specific about it? So it's a philosophical interrogation that starts to delve deeper, and ultimately what starts resulting is that over time, there's patterns that start to emerge in students' preferences. So there's certain patterns might be in whether or not there's certain openings or connections to nature or colors that are being used, but it's starting to reveal deeper dimensions of self through looking at student preferences they didn't quite realize before. We do other things as well, a personality test. I'm sure everyone's been, either engaged with the Myers-Briggs personality test and pulled down a specific personality type. We take this a step further and we start to question, what does that mean? What does one's personality mean, and how can that manifest in space? So, for example, this is a really beautiful example of a space that was designed off a student's personality test, where she was introvert, meaning that she was somehow had preference for more intimate spaces, sensing, which means that she had a stronger feeling about details and orientation and planning, feeling, where it was like a warming, inviting environment that started to welcome you in. And then you had judging, that had this kind of rational, planned approach to how it is that you would start to engage within a space. So in doing this within a classroom setting, you can start to generate dialogue and discussion around how can one's personality start to translate through space, and what would be that on the receiving end of somebody being in that space that maybe shared similar traits within your personality. Childhood memory is a really significant other way of engaging students to start to question their intimate relationship with spaces and places, particularly those that have been experienced from early childhood that have had profound influence of feelings, memories, materials, atmospheres that starts to translate through their understanding of spatial habitation. So another exercise is trying to get students to be able to draw from their autobiographical histories in a way in which they can start to explore tangible spatial elements that can get translated through alternate spaces. So it's taking away, it's really looking at it from those atmospheric feeling compositions of space. So this is another student's childhood experience of being under the stairs. And now it's starting to translate through concept development or experimentation models of exploring the use of light and shadows. Okay, so imagination is also another thing. We take for granted that everybody thinks that designers are inherently creative and you come up with lots of ideas. But if you propose to a student, imagine your ideal space, the space where you can be without any judgment whatsoever, where it's your space, where you can go and start to just feel yourself. You start to get some really interesting insights about how it is that spaces can start to morph and form, welcome you in, expose entrances, ways of sheltering, but it comes back into also just what does it feel like to be in an up high space or a down low space. So it's taking it back into that basic language of architectural experience that anyone can really engage with and starting to express and playfully understand how these imaginary insights can come into the picture. And you can see that in this one as well. Other things that we start to do to try to get students to think about that relationship between self and space and self and other is looking at it through a lens of human needs. Now, I'm not going to go into a theoretical debate about modernist versus postmodernist, but what I will say is that looking at spatial habitation and obviously and inextricably spatial design through lenses of emotions, body, culture, society, and psychology, you start to get a much wider spectrum of how you can start to understand these sorts of relationships, which is somewhat specifically relevant today in terms of thinking about things such as COVID-19 and a lot of the fear and anxiety that's often associated with that. So looking at it through a lens of, in this case, safety and security, questioning what does it mean emotionally, psychologically, culturally, socially to feel safe and secure, and how can we start to think about that through spatial design. You can see these here in these concept models. Belonging as well. So drawing from from your past, from history, what gives a sense of belonging to place and also wider country. Yeah, looking at architectural precedents in that regard, and obviously not for the sake of copying, but being able to deconstruct what is significant about this. How is it that I can start to use this to be able to draw a sense of belonging for somebody else? So that intimate way in which one connects with one's surrounding environment. Gesture and consideration, how is it that we can start to think about space in a way which is inclusive, but not necessarily inclusive in the lens in which we look at present in terms of inclusive design that has a strong focus on disability, but more about human gesture. How do you welcome somebody into your space? How do you guide them around your space? So it's using elements and principles of spatial design, but it's looking at it from a more of a humanist lens. And of course, you can't really go past Maslow's hierarchy without looking at actualization. How can space make you wonder? And when I say wonder, how does it take you out of your world? How does it have the ability to be able to connect with you in a way that goes above and beyond functional and constructability? So this is looking at ways in which you can start to reimagine the capabilities and possibilities of spatial design and spatial experience through a more of an ontological interconnection way. Okay, so I think my 10 minutes is up, but I'm hoping that in that process I've managed to give you a few insights on how it is that we do address innovation, technology and development, but very much through an initial humanist lens to ground students in those really fundamental understandings of what it means to be a spatial designer and how it is that we can connect people to the past through their present and then project possibilities for a future. Thank you.
Xin cảm ơn Đại học RMIT.
Thank you very much, RMIT, and would like to say hello to my colleague from the Italian Trade Agency, and we hope that now we have been connected to Hoa Sen University, where the Consular Dante Bronte is there and joining the event together with the lecturers and students from Hoa Sen University. So we will wait for the presentation from Hoa Sen University with the title The Sustainable Designer.
Chương trình của chúng ta đang
I think we've been behind the schedule for about half an hour, and now we have only 10 minutes for Hoa Sen University. If in the next 2 minutes we fail to connect with them, then may we have your permission to show the Hoa Sen University presentation? Okay, now we see you and we can hear you now. But we don't see yet Mr. Từ Phú Đức, the architect Từ Phú Đức. We don't see him in the screen now. Okay, hello. Yeah, I can hear you well. Please move on. I am Từ Phú Đức and I am the head of the designing department from Hoa Sen University, and we are very sorry for the technical problem that made you to wait for long. And may I now start my presentation. And first of all, I would like to thank Mr. Ambassador in Hanoi and Mr. Consular in Ho Chi Minh City. And I would like to thank the Italian Embassy for inviting us to participate in this event. And so in order to save time for everyone, I would like to start. So I am a lecturer. So as a lecturer, I would like to transfer the knowledge and also share my personal experience with the students. So that's my perspective, and I would have my presentation based on that perspective. The presentation will include the four main parts. First, the Vietnam's current situation in the global picture, and then the sustainable architecture, and then criteria and professional viewpoints, and last but not least, some case study. That is the community center of Con Bang village in the Con Tum province of Vietnam, and in that case study project, our students were also joined in some activities. So as you can know that 50% of the population in the whole world are living in the big cities, and we use up to 75% of the total energy in the world. I mean that the urban citizens, they are using up to 75% of the total energy in the world, and they are also the biggest emitters of the CO2. And from that observation, we have launched a program called the Pro-Environment Architecture Program. So Pro-Environment Architecture Program, that is to try to deal with the global challenges, including climate change or sea water level rise, and and also many other associated challenges with the urbanization process. Especially when we talk about the urbanization in Vietnam, it's not very well controlled. And sometimes the urbanization process happens without the very good planning ideas. And so that's why what we see as the final outcome, that is the urban cities or areas which are not well planned and which are not provided with the sustainable or relevant services. So in many cases in Vietnam, we have failed to have the very strongly developed urban areas like the ones that we may see in Italy, for example. Their cities, they have their own strengths and advantages that they can use for economic development in a sustainable way. But in Vietnam, we still fail to have that. So that's really a big challenge now, and it's not only the question to the designer, but also to the urban planners and many other stakeholders. So as you can see that in the recent flooding crisis in the central region, we found that we are too much dependent on the national highway number 1, and once the highway was interrupted due to the floods, it was very difficult to rescue and to support the victims of the disasters. And so I think it's also very much related to the urban planning. And many construction projects in the urban areas were not considered very carefully or not taking into account to the sustainability elements. And also the urban management is another constraint now, another limitation. And if we talk about the environment, we also see many problems or challenges with the environment in Vietnam, especially in Ho Chi Minh City. Ho Chi Minh City is very much impacted by flooding from the tidal waters and heavy rains. And those environmental degradations has very heavily impacted the quality of life of people, as well as the potential and opportunities for economic development. So we think that it's the very high time now that we need to rebalance the urban development and environmental protection. So we think that by the year 2025, in Vietnam, there will be around 950 cities or urban areas, and around 500 yes, I think 520 something of those urban areas won't be on the coastal areas. So we are sorry, we hear someone who is talking. Someone else apart from the guest speaker is talking to the microphone. And there are some certain criteria that we would urge the designer and architects and urban planners would look at when they have the new project. So the criteria, the most important one, that is the pro-environmental designing mindset. So pro-environment, what does it mean? First of all, is aiming at energy efficiency, and then also reducing waste and improving the energy efficiency, clean energies, and also to protect the environment. And based on those major criteria, we hope that we can also put the pro-environment elements into the design. Sorry, sorry, the interpreters is annoyed by the sound from the other participants who do not turn off their microphone. And we think that we also need to take into account the availability of the natural resources in Vietnam. Now we think that the fossil fuels cannot be renewed, and that's why our designing ideas should not be dependent too much on the fossil fuels. And in Vietnam, however, many designers are still following the mindset that has been there for, say, several decades. So now we are we are urging the designer to have a more innovative or reforming mindset for design, especially in relation to the new types of material. It's not really the new materials, but the materials that have not been very traditionally used. But in Vietnam, especially in Ho Chi Minh City, we need to take into account the fact that we are living in the humid tropical climate. And so the construction materials should be selected in a relevant way. And here we have a project called the legal house, where the legal house, like when the children play the Legos, and they would, connect different pieces of the Lego together in order to make a house. And here in this project, we also use the modular components, which are very easy to be transported to the construction area, and then we just connect those modules together into a house. And whenever there's a need, they can also quite easily, remove the house and then to reconstruct it in another location. And then now let me move to the energy efficiency, which is a very hot topic now. And there have been some projects and programs that we would use the local materials, including the biomass, such as the rice straws, and so that they can make the houses from those local materials. And they can also use those biomass for energy in the house. And then the local people should also made to be more aware about of the higher risk of the natural disasters, so that they can live in the more responsible way to the environment. And another point is that we also need to use the labor intensive rather than the energy intensive construction techniques. And then we need to have the standards that would discourage the construction in the ecologically inappropriate areas. And we should also need to learn more from the international practices in order to have the more environmentally friendly construction solutions and techniques. And especially we also need to explore the methods in order to facilitate the recycling and reuse of the building materials. And then we should also use the clean technologies, and we should also impose the penalties, especially financial penalties, on any developers who use the materials that would destroy the environment. And there should be also the decentralization in the construction industry through the facilitating the development of the small and medium firms. So these are the criteria that we have been putting into the process of our designing brainstorming. And we also think that we need to look at the energy harvesting or waste management and reuse and food production and distribution, and all of those are the chains in a process, in a closed cycle. And then we should also again encourage the renewable energy and energy efficiency, and encourage the community participation in the design and construction process. And then also to have the UN agency and international organizations in different areas which are related to the environment, for example, the wild protection and forest protection and so on. So, however, we still have a question that for those one who are concerned about trying to implement the ideas embodied in this presentation, they may have a question that what the sustainability means. So, in order to answer that question, we try to show you now a case study and actually how the sustainability can be realized in our design and architecture project. So there are many different case studies, but here we have chosen this one because this case study was conducted with the participation of many students from our university, and it was conducted in the ethnic minority community. Once we talk about the ethnic minorities, we understand that we need to help them in preserving their old traditions and their cultural values. So that's why we put a lot of attention to this project, and we wanted to design this project to make it acceptable to the local ethnic minority people. So in this area, bamboo is known as the green steel of the nature. This ethnic minority community is in the central highlands of Vietnam, and they've been living in nature. But more recently, there has been a kind of disruption in their traditional value and traditional cultural value, because many members of the community, they have moved to live in the brick houses rather than to live in the bamboo houses, and like their ancestors did. When we asked them why they have moved into the brick houses or even the concrete wall houses, but not to stay in their traditional bamboo houses, the steel house, you might have heard about the steel house made of bamboo in the central highlands of Vietnam, and they said that now we don't have any more bamboos to do the to build up the house. And however, you may also see another side of the story, that is, bamboo is the very popular tree in Vietnam, and so far we have had quite many new technologies in order to process the bamboo as the raw materials, and in order to make it into higher quality construction materials. And we have very good technologies to control the termites, to reduce the possibility of damaging the bamboo. So from those observations, we decided to launch the project in this area, and we looked at their geographical locations, and we learned about their culture. That's the Bana ethnic minority groups, and this is on the screen you can see a picture of their village cultural house, which is very specific and very unique for this region. And again, some other pictures to show you the cultural activities of those ethnic minority people. And you can see also some religious topic paintings that the ethnic minority groups in this village are, keeping in their house. And after we learned about their cultural values, then we understood that usually in a village they would have a village control house, or the so-called the communal house, and a shared library and a school, a village school. And in this project, then we decided to make all of those structures with bamboo as the main kind of the construction material. And because you see that we can still find a lot of bamboo from this locality. So that is to say, here we use the local materials. And we applied the technology in order to process the bamboo wood chips. And we also transferred those technology to the local people so that they can know how to do the processing or termite control for the bamboo on their own, and they can do it on their own. And so I think that it's a very important skill that they should learn about, and they can use that skill to improve their livelihood, and together they can also preserve their traditional culture. And we also think that they can develop tourism industry in this region. Because you know that the Central Highlands are among the attractions for the visitors. So the local people now, if they have more skills and more techniques to process the bamboo raw materials, then they can also produce more commodities, kind of consumable goods from bamboo, and it can be another attraction for the visitors. So this is the picture to show you about the bamboo made structures. And again, you know that we also need to think carefully about how the bamboo materials should be made to be sustainable in the climatic conditions of this region, especially when they are impacted by the climate change. So again, in this project, we try to combine the environmental protection and environmental sustainability ideas with the traditional culture and values of the region. And I think that's all that I would like to present to you today. Thank you very much for your attention.
Như vậy là chúng ta đã.
Thank you very much. So we've been here for nearly 3 hours, and the 5 presentations. First of all, from Mr. Prof Casmonti, and then from MUCE, and then from NUCE and RMIT, then Hoa Sen University. Okay, so 5 presentations totally we have been listening to for the last 3 hours, and Mr. Prof Casmonti talked to us about how to, translate the tradition into the contemporary architecture and also to the future. And he also received a question from Hoa Sen University about how to encourage the young generation to respect the traditions. And then we listened to the presentation from the MUCE about their lecturers and students' study on architecture with the adaptability to climate change, and some recommendations on irrigation heritage preservation. Especially in the context that the whole central region of Vietnam has been very much heavily impacted by floodings. And then we'll listen to a presentation from the NUCE about how to preserve and to raise the cultural values of the handicrafts and traditional villages from the Red River Delta. And actually, it was also the project that was financially supported by the Italian embassy. And then we'll listen to a presentation from the RMIT about small space. But still, there are the ways to improve the functionality of that space, because it should be considered not only as a physical space, but also the space connected to the, let's say, psychological elements and many other spiritual elements. And then we listen to another more macro level presentation from Hoa Sen University in terms of sustainable architecture, reuse and recycling of the construction materials, and adaptability to the climate change, responses to climate change when we choose the construction materials or when we design the structures. So because of the time limit, it's already 5:30 now, but we still have the last presentation. So all of the questions should be noted, and we will record all the questions and we'll forward the question to the guest speaker through email, and then we will send you the responses and replies through email as well. And now may I give floor to Mr. Khánh. Mr. Khánh from Ho Chi Minh City.
Đại sứ đã cho tôi dịp này để làm cái report.
Thank you for giving me the opportunity. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm Khánh, the chair of the Association of Architects of Vietnam, and the chair of the Art and Wood Processing Association. And we'd like to thank architect Marco Casmonti for the presentation, and he talks a lot about the art, the tradition. And I think that any innovation for the purpose of sustainability is not just for innovation. More importantly, today, any nation tradition is not just for that nation, but it is also for the humankind's heritage. Mr. Marco Casmonti have talked a lot about different relics. And I think that that is also not for the humankind. Now, I'd like to talk about how to use material for our creation. Still, we can assure environmental protection. So may I suggest some key points to ensure sustainability in the future. And we'd like to thank Mr. Đức from Hoa Sen University for his idea. And now we are sensitive whenever we talk about wood as a material, because it is to do with the question of environmental protection. And we want to use natural wood, and we are destroying the forest. It is a different story than when we use the wood from the forest that we grow, man-made forest. More specifically, we have seen different projects made of wood. like the Mosanet. That is Hyatt's wood-made works. And we also have some other examples from US. This day in the world, we have seen wood from the human made forest. And these wood have been processed to prevent from worms and to make it more durable. And in Vietnam, we have followed the trend, and we have used wood from the man-made forest for different projects. For example, the acacia, and it is also not only for the interior decoration, but also to a certain extent the exterior. But the point is how to use the right wood. My point is to do with other materials in the future in our design works. As said by Mr. Marker, Vietnam is very proud when we have used the carbon-based fibers in order to produce different furniture. And also we have adopted the 3D technology that implies the revolution in the future. And also it has reflected our creativity and our diversity in our design. And we will see that happen in the near future. That implies that our future design would be in the hands of the millennium generation, that is for those born after 2000. And they will get to know more about the world, and they will have more demand in creating the product more protective to the environment. And the future designer will have the responsibility to foster that idea. And now I'd like to talk about the Ho Chi Minh City Wood Association. In Ho Chi Minh City, we have 600 members. And we have undertaken a big responsibility assigned to us, that is to develop the wood industry in Vietnam in a sustainable manner. That is the sustainability created by those who are working in industry, and also in sustainability for Vietnam, for economic development, and also for the world. We have exports more than $10 billion in wood processed product. So we are also an important actor in the wood based exports, and we do hope that in our cooperation at Italia, we can have stronger cooperation and partnership with Italian producer, and we also have a better connection between creation and production, because now we can have a strong production base from the traditional to the modern production. And now the wood related industry has created half a million jobs relating from the wood cutting, processing, wood product exports. So we do hope that one day Vietnam will become a wood-based product export center in the future. And once again, we would like to thank Italian Embassy for giving me the opportunities to speak here. I assume that this is a very good opportunity for the designers from Vietnam and Italia and other partners to come together to express our idea and also to create a creative space, and also to help form the creative trends for our design industry both in Vietnam and Italy. Thank you.
Nguyễn Quốc Khanh, cá nhân tôi cũng như rất nhiều.
Thank you very much, Architect Nguyễn Quốc Khánh. I myself and other participants are very much expecting to listen more from the other experts in the design and architecture sector in Vietnam. So, but because we didn't have time left, then what has been shared by Mr. Nguyễn Quốc Khánh, I think that is very clear about the topic of the Italian Design Day 2020. That is the development for future innovation and sustainability. And I would like to thank everyone for being very patient and for staying until this time, very late in the afternoon. And would like to thank you again for your participation, and we hope to see you again in the next event next year, the Italian Design Day next year. Thank you.